Hi, Anthony. This is Dawn. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Don.
Hi. Hey, for the public hearing, is somebody want to be made co-host to say or to go through the presentation, or would you want me just to go through the packet?
Yeah, it'd be great if you can make Aaron Monizo, when he comes on, make him a co-host.
Okay, and then he'll be ready to share his presentation.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Dawn
thanks.
and McDonough, I have a question for you too. On the,
Yep.
I had sent a text to Mary about what action, if any, are we supposed to take for, sorry, the manure management plan that isn't. So under communications, are we receiving and filing that nutrient management plan, or what do we want to do there?
I don't think we take any action. It's just maybe we motion
Say-
to remove it from the agenda because it's not actionable. You don't need to receive those.
Correct.
So there could be a motion just to remove it from the agenda since no action needs to be taken. I think that'd be okay.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Good evening, Harley.
Hi, Ann, how are you today?
I am good. It's good to see some sunshine.
Yeah, beautiful day out.
Hello, Ed. How'd your day go? Did it get better?
It started out great, Ann, and I will tell you, I had many conversations related to the topic of making progress. So
Good.
talking with the feds and some other folks. So
Good, good.
and locals.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I went outside for a minute. That's the only time I've been outside to shovel the back deck, and that's when I got all my phone calls back. So that's if you want to get a call back, head outside to the garage for a minute.
I was gonna give you a call this afternoon, Ed, to follow up with you, and I had a 1 o'clock meeting that lasted until 4, so I didn't get much accomplished either, so.
I was on the phone a lot, Harley. So you just call me tomorrow. It's
Yeah.
The meetings late in the day like this are really strange to get the day right, I think. Hello, Supervisor Wickham.
Well, hello, Supervisor McDonough. Hot off.
Hey Jay, how are you
Others?
tonight?
I'm doing
Very
good,
good.
thank you. Finally warm. Fur.
Absolutely.
Definitely better.
Well, I see we have our recorder with us, our auditors here, Mary Hobble, and we're recording. So it's 5:30. I'll call the Board of Supervisors for Dubuque County into session for Monday evening, February 22nd, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. And the first item on our agenda always begins with public comment. If anyone from the public would like to speak to the Board of Supervisors about a matter that is of concern to them, we would invite their input at this time. If you are here to talk about a public hearing, and we do have one public hearing this evening, we'll take your comments and suggestions at that time. If anyone would like to speak, they can go to the chat room or turn on your video and give a wave or raise your hand in the participant section. So we'll allow for a minute or so for folks to indicate if they wish to speak.
Supervisor McDonough, this is Dawn. Nobody has shared that they would like to make public comment this evening.
That's because they've all called me during the last several days. We're all getting those emails and things. So very good. Well, we'll begin with our agenda and item number 1. There are no proclamations this evening, so we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of our last 3 meetings. Looks like Dawn may be screen sharing those. If everyone's had a chance to review them, we'll need to take action.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I will second that.
Motion is second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. We on to item 3. We have no consent items. We'll move to item 4, which is the procurement procedures. So our first item is to receive bids from regarding the plan for HMA resurfacing on Cedar Ridge Road. It's a project LOSH-22 Parenzo 2-73-31. And I'm Mary Hobble, are you opening those, or Dawn Sherman?
I am Supervisor McDonough. Okay,
Very good.
for the Cedar Ridge Road,
Yes.
we have one bid.
Only one bid, huh?
And I'm flying solo here, so I'm doing everything.
Well, you know, our meeting has plenty of time built into it, Mary, so
Okay.
we don't have an aggressive agenda before us, I don't believe.
Okay, the bid bond seems to be in order. This is from River City Paving. River City Paving bid of total project cost $960,000, $960,295.55. Again, that's $960,295.55.
And you said the bond was attached as well.
And the bond does seem to be in order.
Okay, very good. And that's the only bid
I will
we
make a
have.
motion to. Go ahead, Supervisor McDonough.
I just want to make sure that we only have the one bid, Mary.
Correct.
That's confirmed. Okay, I'm sorry. Supervisor Wickham, proceed. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the bids and to refer them to the county engineer for his review and recommendation.
I will second.
A motion is second to receive the bids and refer to the county engineer for his recommendation. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mary. Next is the receipt of bids for the bridge replacement on Hidden Valley Road, project L-B22-03-73-31.
We have two bids for this one. Okay, the first bid is from Taylor Construction, $152,507.10. $152,507.10. And
Mary, who is that from? Sorry.
that is from Taylor Construction in Uvalde. And the second bid is from Jim Schrader, who likes tape. Second bid is from Jim Schrader Construction from Bellevue. Bid bond seems to be in order. And this bid is, again, this is from Jim Schrader Construction of Bellevue, $150,900.90. $150,900.90.
Mary, did the Taylor Construction bid also have the bond in order?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion to forward the bids to the county attorney or the county engineer for his review.
And I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to receive the bids and refer them to the county engineer. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
On our agenda now, we are on item C, and it looks like we have some requests for quotes that we would need to take action on. I guess I'll just, the first request for quote is for a current model year heavy-duty tandem axle truck for the Dubuque County Secondary Roads Department. Looks as though those requests for quotes will be due back to the courthouse by 3 o'clock on Friday, March 12th. 2021 to be opened on Monday, March 15th at the 9 a.m. meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for quotes.
I will second.
Motion to second to approve the request for quotes. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Next item is a motion to approve a request for quotes for snow equipment to be installed on the one tandem axle truck for Dubuque County secondary roads.
I would make a motion to approve the request for quotes.
I will second that.
Motion a second to approve request for quotes with due date of Friday, March 12th, 2021 to be opened on Monday, March 15th at 9 a.m. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. The next section of our meeting is the public hearing section. And to begin in our first public hearing, we're going to have the issue before us about the John Deere Road Build Project. The proposed plan from the Iowa DOT project number HDP-CO31, parens 110-6B-31, and STBG swap CO31, parens 112-FG-31. It's a grade and pave improvements to D10/ South John Deere Road Build Project. Anthony, I know you're with us, a county engineer. I'm going to bring this over to you if you want to give us any context or introduction for the presentation this evening.
Yes, well, good evening. So we are having a public hearing to discuss the kind of the current development of the plans for the John Deere area roads, where we received this build federal grant for this project. So this is just merely giving kind of a public update as to where we're at right now. Nothing is being approved today as far as a set of plans or anything like that, but we wanted to just give a general update to the supervisors and the public at large. So I've invited Aaron Moniza from FOTH Infrastructure to give a presentation on what's kind of transpired at this point. I'll turn it over to Aaron.
Well, thanks so much, Anthony, and well, good evening to all the supervisors and the public at large. So I do have some slides here that I'm going to switch over to and to walk you through, as Anthony said, to kind of give everybody an update on how what we've been working on with the project and some things that are coming up. So if you just bear with me here, I will share my screen and we'll get right into it. Everybody can hear me okay, I hope, right?
Yep.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, so can everybody see some slides now?
Yes, there are slides of the John Deere corridor project is up on our screen.
Perfect, excellent. All right, well, so folks, here's what we would like to discuss today. I got a number of items here on the agenda. Going to be kind of giving some updates. Kind of want to refresh the group on what we're planning on doing out there. I do have a couple folks with me here today. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Justin. He's from JCG. He's going to come in and give everybody a quick update on some of the activity on the right-of-way and the right-of-way acquisition with the project. And then I also have a gentleman by the name of Clayton, who's part of the full team, one of our designers that also is on the call and will be available with myself here at the conclusion of our presentation to hopefully address any questions that anyone has. So here's, again, like I said, here's kind of what we'd like to discuss as we're here this evening. I know this is some information that's been presented before. Again, I like to show up really quickly just to, again, refresh everyone that's viewing this, kind of what the goals of this project were and really what we were trying to accomplish in terms of improving safety out here in this area, improving some issues with traffic flow, and also really setting up the corridor here for the future the best way that we could. Now, here is just a quick recap and look ahead. So there's been a number of things we've been working on since we last spoke with the board back in early November. We've had a number of stakeholder engagement meetings with folks out in this area, particularly John Deere. And we've also submitted our preliminary plans here to the Iowa DOT. Those plans have been reviewed and cleared by the agency. And that, as you can see from the slide, occurred here back in January. Kind of what's going on right now, we are continuing to move forward with our design. Our environmental work is, for the most part, completed. We're just waiting for some final sign off from FHWA. The design and the environmental, I will touch on here a little bit later in the presentation when we talk about the schedule. And we'll get you some updates here on the right-of-way, as I mentioned earlier. And we continue to coordinate with the various private utilities that are located here within the project limits. So folks, let's just take a look at the proposed improvements that are planned for this project. Again, this should look similar to information that's been shown previously, as this is the concept that we've had here since late last year. But again, I'll just take a moment to kind of refresh everybody on what we're planning on doing. And if you're all right, I'll kind of start on the left side of the screen and move to the right. So kind of moving south to north. Of course, in this area, we're planning on really completely reconstructing the pavement. If you can see, as I've labeled here on the screen, we're planning on building 2 roundabouts. At the first one at the intersection of Peru Road, the second one at the intersection of the entrance into John Deere's plant. We have engaged John Deere throughout this process and have kind of talked through some of the information and challenges they have with traffic kind of moving in and out of their facility, which has kind of led us to the proposed improvements. You'll see all this is when I say proposed improvements, we're going to have all brand new pavement, as you can kind of indicated here by the kind of the light gray areas. Now, a couple other things I wanted to point out here at the roundabouts that you can't quite see on here, but will be part of the project is there will be new lighting at each one of the roundabouts. And, in the middle of the roundabouts, we are going to have some plantings. I kind of threw up this picture here on the slide that kind of shows you the direction we're planning on going. So there's going to be some kind of flowering plantings that will be inside the roundabouts to kind of give it a nice aesthetic look and feel. Now, kind of moving on to the north, we will also be doing some improvements at the intersection of South John Deere Road and West John Deere Road to improve how traffic moves in and out of that particular intersection. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is adding some turn lanes to help traffic in there, and as well as throughout the entire corridor, which is depicted by some of the darker shaded areas on the outside of the roadway, are some additional pavement areas to accommodate the large trucks that move in and out of this area. Now, the last thing I want to bring to the audience's attention here is you can kind of see the area that kind of circled in the dashed red. That is going to be a trail crossing. So we are going to be putting a new trail as part of this project. The trail is going to kind of tie into John Deere's kind of north entrance, cross South John Deere Road / Herbert Road, as you can see indicated with the circle, and then continue along West John Deere Road. So speaking of West John Deere Road, let's talk a little bit about this portion of the project. So we are not actually planning to fully reconstruct South John Deere Road between West John Deere Road and Highway 3. But what we are going to do is we are planning on doing an overlay of this portion of the roadway here as part of the project. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we are going to be constructing a new 10-foot wide trail on the north side of South John Deere Road all the way up to Highway 3. Now I've got a couple areas highlighted here with the red dashed circle again. So I just kind of want to bring, I want to bring these areas to your attention here and talk a little bit about that here. The first is at the Proving Grounds recreational area. We are going to have a connection from directly across from the Proving Grounds entrance, to the new trail. Again, just trying to set up the corridor and provide for the best access as we can for folks that will hopefully be using this new amenity for the county. And then secondly, let's look at the intersection of Highway 3 and South John Deere Road. As you can see here, what we're planning on doing here as part of our project is to bring the trail up to Highway 3, and we're looking to install a crossing here, and that will set up the trail to be connected to a future trail connection that the Dubuque County Conservation Board is leading as a separate project. So now with that, there's a couple of things I did want to show you here, just to kind of help the supervisors as well as the public kind of visualize what this might look like. Now, I will say that we were early in the design details here for this crossing, so we're still working through some different options, and we also need to work through the Iowa DOT Office of Traffic and Safety with whatever we're going to decide to do there. But we did want to show the group kind of some things how this might look. Now, here's just an example of an at-grade crossing, which is what we're planning to do. You can kind of get an idea here, and really what we're just trying to depict here for the audience is to give you an idea of kind of some of the pavement markings and some of the signage that's going to go here at this crossing. Now, the larger picture shows 2 lanes. We have 4 lanes to cross out there, which you can kind of see in that smaller picture down in the bottom right. Either way, we're going to have a combination of pavement markings, signage, possibly some other special considerations here that we're looking at, to make this crossing as safe as it can and needs to be. Here's just a couple of, I'll go through these relatively quickly. We just have a couple of real life examples. Here kind of shows you an at-grade crossing for kind of a similar situation. This actually is in the Iowa City Coralville area. Here is another at-grade crossing here. This is on Tower Terrace Road. What I'd like to point out here is you can see that this kind of shows these special signs called they're rapid flashing beacon signs. This is one of the safety amenities that we're looking at possibly including here with this crossing. Again, as we continue to kind of flesh out the details and look at setting that up the safest way that we can. Now, again, we're not advocating for some of these next 2, but we just wanted to show, again, the board of supervisors here some other things that may possibly be considered here as we look into it. Again, this kind of shows a pedestrian refuge in between kind of the traveled lanes of traffic, which may be something that could be considered. And then this kind of shows you a real life example of what that looks like. And then finally, with the high speeds in this area, there also could be some consideration again for some special overhead signing. Now, I know I threw a lot there at the group in a relatively short period of time, but again, I just wanted to kind of provide an update. There's a number of things that we're kind of looking at and we'll be vetting here with the Iowa DOT in terms of safely putting in that crossing. But like I said, as it stands right now, it's our goal to have a crossing as part of our project here as we move forward. So with that, I'd like to move into kind of the next agenda item, and that's an update here on the right-of-way. And so if I could ask Justin, now Justin is with JCG, they're the right-of-way acquisition folks that are part of this project, kind of leading us through the right-of-way acquisition process. And so, Justin, if I could ask you to maybe unmute and just give the group a quick update on where things are at with the right-of-way, and then just let me know when you want me to advance to the next slide that kind of shows the right-of-way areas.
For sure. Thanks, Aaron. And good evening, supervisors. Like Aaron said, my name is Justin for JCG Land Services. I will be in charge of securing the necessary easements and acquisition for the land required. Kind of an update. I have spoken with all the landowners, so we have contact info, and I've started, at least discussions with each of them. So I have the, correct information. Let's see. We have compensation estimates for the 2 temporary easements, and then we've got appraisals in for the 2 fee title acquisitions that we need as well, and the appraisals are currently under review. So once we get the review in and we get the clearance and the green light, I'll be able to send out the offers to the landowners and start my negotiations. Aaron, you can probably go to the next slide. All right. And as you can kind of see on the map here, the county owns the parcel to the west, and so they would be pretty much deeding it back to themselves. The John Deere is up in green, and Dubuque is in red. The John Deere parcel itself is an interesting shape just because of the Dubuque. They need a septic leach field, but we believe we have that sorted out. But that's kind of why it has a square shape on the very south side on that roundabout. But most of this area, on here would be either a permanent easement. I don't believe there is any temporary over here. And then the fee title as well.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Justin. Was there anything else on the right-of-way that you wanted to share?
Not really. It's pretty straightforward so far.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. All right, folks. Well, moving on here, let's talk a little bit about the schedule. And so now it's my understanding in talking with Anthony that that there has been some discussions between Anthony and the Board of Supervisors here on some things that have come up regarding the project, specifically with the build grant. And again, just make sure everybody's aware, there was a build grant that was awarded to this project. That build grant comes with certain stipulations, and the original grant itself actually included kind of 2 projects, if you will. There was the John Deere Road Corridor portion of the project, and then there was also what was called like the Northwest Arterial portion of the project. And for some time here, the county and the FHWA have been working together. Like after the grant was awarded, they really, after some additional discussions, again, after that, like I said, after the grant was awarded, the decision was thinking that it might be best to kind of split these 2 projects apart and kind of treat them as separate projects. We're kind of going through that process as we speak. And we're bringing this up because originally, with one of the stipulations of the grant was, that the John Deere portion of the project had to be let by July of this year. Now with the FHWA kind of taking a little bit longer time to make that decision, it sounds like what they've done is they've kind of given the grant a 1-year extension. And as we kind of get really the final sign-offs and we kind of work through the administrative part of this process. And so that's currently where we're at. What that means for us in the John Deere Road Corridor project is really this, is like originally we were planning on letting this project in July. We were always really planning on construction to start in the spring of 2022. We are still going to plan for construction to start at that time. It just looks like we're going to be pushing the letting back, and we're just trying to figure out if that's going to be 1 month or a couple months or what that's going to be. What I will tell you though is I think all indications are we're going to have our letting here, sometime probably towards the latter half of this year, certainly no later than the early part of 2022, and then we'll get into construction in the spring of 2022. So not, again, really more administrative update. And really the biggest effect it has to our project is it's just going to give us a little bit more time to work through the design as we push back the letting. So speaking of construction, wanted to talk a little bit about that and give folks some updates and background on what that's going to look like. As I mentioned, when that is going to start, we're looking at spring of 2022. And what we're thinking here is, and I'm kind of going a little bit out of order, we're planning for it to start in the spring of 2022. When we think it will end, you can see here on the slide that I put kind of the spring or early summer of 2023. And what I mean by that is essentially the vast majority of the work is going to be completed next year. That's the plan. What we're going to do is that overlay that I mentioned that we're going to do on South John Deere Road, if we can get that in next year, we will. That's one component. If we get late in the season, we might come back and do that in the first part of the following year. And then one of the reasons for that is, we don't want to put that overlay in and then have a bunch of people driving on it here, like kind of during construction. So that's essentially kind of the overall construction schedule we're looking at. Now, as far as traffic during construction, we've been working with, again, we've had some conversations with the stakeholders, particularly the folks at John Deere. And really what we're going to do here is there is going to be, we're going to start, when we start construction in the spring, we're going to start some work kind of at either end of the project, kind of looking at the Peru Road intersection, also some work down at the intersection of South John Deere Road and West John Deere Road. With some temporary pavement, traffic will be maintained, in all directions at that time. But then we are going to come to a point where we are going to close down South John Deere Road, kind of between Peru Road and West John Deere Road. That's really going to allow the contractor to get in there and build that portion of the roadway relatively quickly. Again, we've had discussions with John Deere. They're in favor of doing that, and they're just going to have their employees exit, kind of all their employees exit either to Peru Road or Herbert Road during that period. And again, that will allow us to really kind of expedite the construction. So essentially, like I said, we'll maintain, and during that time, that portion of the road is closed. We'll have, detour signing and various other signage that will help direct folks how to get in and out of the John Deere area during that period. So my next updated item is, again, budget. So we have a budget of 6.8 million for this project. I'll tell you that where we're at this point, we are still and feel fully confident this project will be within our budget. That includes all the planned improvements. At this point in time, since we're not 100% complete with design, we still have a little contingency built into that. As we continue to work through details, that also includes costs for anticipated costs for right-of-way, as well as some costs that we need on the utility relocation side of things. So all in all, budget is in a good spot with where we're at right now, and we feel there's nothing that we've seen or any indication that we'll have any sort of budget issues here with the project. And so with that, I'd like to kind of open it up for questions. I know there was a fair amount of information we went through there somewhat expeditiously, but at this point in time, I'd be open to any questions from any of the supervisors or anyone else here that is part of the meeting.
Thank you, Aaron. Do my colleagues have questions? Do you want to go directly to see if there's public comment and questions? How would we like to proceed?
Well, maybe we can hit our questions and then open it up for the public, if that
Very
would
good.
suit
Sure.
the supervisors. Who would like to go first?
I just have one question, Aaron. When it's closed from Peru Road to West John Deere Road, are semis going to be able to get in to Peru by Dubuque there, the south into John Deere where they usually pick up the heavy equipment, or how are we going to direct all that semi traffic?
Yeah, Supervisor Potoff, that's a great question. And yeah, to answer that, so the Peru Road intersection will be open to traffic at all times. So people will be able to come down South John Deere Road and always make that right-hand turn onto Peru Road to access Dubuque as well as John Deere. And then in turn, anybody traveling westbound on Peru Road will be able to come up to South John Deere Road and turn left to head south. So they'll be able to do that at all times.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Wickham, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you. First of all, Aaron and Justin, thank you for the presentation. And Aaron, thank you for the additional detail related to the trail and some of the intersections. My first question is on the alignment piece related to John Deere, West John Deere Road, and then South John Deere Road. Is there any change to that alignment? That was never a real true curve. It was kind of just a little bend. Any alignment changes in that area, or comments related to how the roundabout may slow down traffic coming from the north now that there's a roundabout that they'll have to face?
Yeah, you bet, Supervisor Wickham. So yeah, that's actually a really great question, and probably should have touched on that earlier, but you're right. So there is a couple small alignment improvements here at the intersection. I don't know if my cursor is working, but we, yeah, so the first thing we did is we've actually got a small alignment change in here to kind of improve this intersection. And then there was a kink, kind of a kink in here that had caused some traffic issues and some safety issues over the years. So that's actually going to be cleaned up. We've kind of got a horizontal curve in here to kind of get rid of that and improve how, improve both the safety and the efficiency of how traffic moves through there. And then, yeah, to your kind of second question, yes, I would definitely anticipate, as traffic enters this area, that the roundabouts are certainly going to slow down traffic. It's going to keep traffic moving, but it's definitely going to kind of reduce the residual speeds of traffic. Again, people are really going to be moving through these two intersections with the roundabouts at about, somewhere in that 18 to 20 miles per hour range.
Very good. Thank you. Maybe we'll jump to the trail here and stay right where we were on the John Deere and John Deere South area. The trail access, the trail originating from maybe John Deere property, is that a public or private trail? And if so, is there any right-of-way acquisition?
Yeah, so this is within public right-of-way. So this would all be considered a public trail, and there was no, we're not requiring any right-of-way for this portion of the trail. If you're talking about the trail in, yeah, if you're talking, I'm sorry, if you're talking about the trail in general, yes. So
well, that was my second question too on that. So first of all, so no John Deere acquisition. Is there any right-of-way acquisition on the John Deere South Trail? And then if so, can you generally describe how you get a 10-foot trail, the offsets and the slopes fit in that corridor? Do we have enough right-of-way?
Yeah, and yes, let me clarify. So like we're not acquiring any right-of-way for the trail. The only thing that we are acquiring are some temporary easements, and that's for grading purposes only. Now, fortunately, we had enough right-of-way, along West John Deere Road to get that trail back far enough where we wanted, but then also within the existing roadway right-of-way corridor.
Very good, thank you. My last question would be then the trail. Do we have a surface type identified? And then where's the profile of that trail going to be? Is it going to match the edge of shoulder on John Deere West, or what's the idea or plans for that?
Yeah, no, so the trail material is going to be, it's going to be a concrete trail. That's what we're proposing. And then the profile of the trail is actually, so it's going to be kind of down at the bottom of the slope, about just inside the right of way. And the reason that we had to put that down here was if we wanted to bring this up higher or a little bit closer to the road, we would have had to bring in fill material, and a portion of West John Deere Road falls in a floodway and a floodplain. And by doing that, it just triggered a number of, let's say, additional complications with putting a trail along this corridor. So we've actually been working with the Iowa DNR and the Iowa DOT to kind of find the ideal alignment and profile and where to place that trail, which allowed us to get it in there and not affect the floodplain in a manner that was going to cause some additional efforts, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you. That's all my questions right now.
You bet. You're welcome.
Aaron, this is Ann McDonough. My questions are really, I just need to know when you will be back to us about the crossing on Highway 3. You know, that's going to, those safety concerns obviously are, I just don't, for public purpose, are we going to have another meeting on that? Will you be keeping the public up to date? Because I do think that's going to be, you know, certainly the supervisors discussed it. I think it might have even just been last week. I thought some good discussion about what safety issues might be implicated there. When will we know more?
Yes, Supervisor McDonough. Yeah, another great question. And so this is where I guess what I had in my mind, and in defense of Anthony, I haven't had a chance to chat with him about this, is, you know, once we have, you know, we need to kind of figure out exactly when this letting is going to be. And once we do that, it's going to kind of dictate, you know, when we got to have our final plans submitted to the Iowa DOT and kind of, you know, have some more firm dates. And once we have that locked in, then I was planning on discussing that with Anthony of like, hey, what would be the best way for us to kind of give an update here to the county in terms of what we're planning on doing here with this crossing. The reason that's a little kind of nebulous is like right now, again, because of the build grant and the federal funding, like we actually have to, we have to kind of put our design on hold here until the FHWA kind of signs off on this decoupling. And at that time, they have to sign off on the environmental concurrence. Once they do that, then we can move into final design. So I would say shortly after we kind of get back and start working on final design, I think we would be at a place to provide an update here to the board, kind of with a little bit more specifics on what we think that crossing is going to look like after we've had a chance to kind of vet that out with the Iowa DOT Office of Traffic and Safety.
Very good. Do we have any other questions from supervisors?
I just have a couple more. On the trail, Aaron, heading towards Highway 3 along West John Deere Road, there's a creek that's in there. Are you planning on a bridge over that, or how are you planning on getting across that?
So we're planning on using the existing box culvert that is there. So there's actually enough room for us to kind of bring the trail kind of right on top of that box culvert.
Okay.
And without having to affect the creek.
Okay. Well, like you said, a lot of that is in the floodplain, and on that trail, when it floods, would be underwater. Just as a
Yep.
And then when the trail heads north along Herbert Road, excuse me, where's that end at? At the bridge, or where's that going to?
So, really where that is planned to end is right here at, I don't know if you can see my cursor again, is like, we're just planning on bringing that up to kind of that north entrance into John Deere. Which, which allows us to kind of stay within our kind of project limits. And, in talking with John Deere, it also was kind of a logical ending point, at least for this, at least for our project in, this chunk of the trail.
Okay, I guess I didn't see that. My pictures were along there. I didn't see that it ended there. Okay, I guess that would make sense for people that want to take their bike to work or something. They could trail it right to John Deere.
And Supervisor Potoff, if I could just add one other thing, I kind of want to go back to your first question on the stream crossings. And so I also just wanted to, just clarify too, there's actually 2 stream crossings along West John Deere Road. You've kind of got the larger one, which is kind of more to the west, closer to Highway 3. That's the one that we're going to kind of go up and use the existing box culvert. Then there's also a much smaller stream crossing that is kind of more closer to South John Deere Road. And we're actually going to be able to cross that one. That one, we're going to be down a little bit further away from the road. And so we're able to we're going to put in a couple, the plan is to put in a couple of stormwater pipes and create like a crossing of the trail for that creek. So I just wanted to kind of point out there's 2 different creeks we'll be crossing kind of in 2 different manners.
I figured the first one a culvert would probably take care of that one. The second one is a rather large one. That's why I was just had the question.
No problem. And yes, and like I said, luckily, and we're doing that in a way that doesn't affect, the floodplain.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron.
My pleasure.
We are leaving unaddressed any public parking area to access this trail, as it, we're having it begin or end, however you view that, right there at the entrance to John Deere. So it's not in the scope of the work, but I don't think we're likely done with this trail by any means. We're kind of leaving. At Highway 3, we've got an issue, and you look at this part of the, I think we're maybe making assumptions or something about where people are going to be parking. I don't know if there's parking on South John Deere Road. Maybe it's not an issue.
My assumption would be they would park at the proving grounds or the Heritage Trail parking lot, or the Little Macoca Indian Burial Mounds parking lot.
Yeah.
Any
But
other
we
questions?
would need signage.
Yep.
We definitely would need signage to direct the public there. So that's a good point. But hopefully there is a few parking spots available there.
Any other questions?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Ann.
Okay, we're looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
I would make a motion to open the public hearing.
I will second that.
Motion a second to open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. We are now in open to the public for comment and questions. If we do have members of the public who would like to ask a question or make a comment, now would be the time. Similarly, we would be looking for you to put a comment in chat. We don't have our video as easily visible here, but to give us a wave or indicate by raising your hand through, I think, the participants or the reaction screen on the bottom of your screen.
I'll jump in with one more question while we're waiting for our first public comment, if it does occur. Supervisor McDonough asked you a little bit about the next steps. And so Aaron and maybe Anthony, can you talk about when would that proposed design be for, the crossing at Highway 3? Because that is something that is needed.
Anthony, you all right if I try to tackle this one?
Yeah, go right ahead, Aaron.
Yeah. So Supervisor Wickham, so the plan is that, that would be constructed as part of our project. So that would be built at some point here next year. And then, we would get that crossing in, kind of get, and really the point was to just get that to the west side of 3, and then kind of allow, in our discussions we hear with Brian of the Dubuque County Conservation Board, kind of get a nice, that would be where his future project would kind of tie into. So that would be, as it stands right now, that's our plan, is to have that part of the project and constructed here sometime in 2022.
What about the designs? So, when would we have a design concept for that we would say yes, no, or maybe?
You bet. Well, what I would say with that is, although our final design efforts are, we have to put those on hold, we could be working on the conceptual design of that. And I guess I can talk with Anthony, but quite honestly, I think that's something, I think sometime here in the next month, we could kind of come back and show the board here what we're proposing, and have some dialogue and answer some questions about it at that time. If would seem to be kind of the time frame I have in off the top of my head.
Yeah, so Supervisor Wickham, so one of the things we're having to wait on is getting the final environmental clearance. And we have a tentative clearance right now, but because of the FHWA decision we're waiting on. Once we have that decision from FHWA, we'll get the environmental clearance. But we cannot move on to final plan sort of phase until that environmental clearance happens. And so the risk we kind of run with that is that if we let Aaron go ahead with final plans and he starts invoicing for the final phase there, we risk not being able to get reimbursed for that through our swap funding agreement with the DOT. And also our final plan cost are going to be, I guess, directed towards the local match on the overall grant itself. So we want to be real careful not to push Aaron too much into final plan phase right now until we get that clearance, so we can get reimbursement and get that match put towards the grant.
Okay, thank you. I understand. And then generally, if it is a 30-day time frame, not asking for final designs, but additional preliminary ideas, I think that'd be wonderful.
Also, I would like to see us have some communication, maybe jointly with the Conservation Board, Supervisor Wickham, because that's a citizen board. It would be good to have those folks helping with some input, certainly, on how we're going to look at the crossing of 3.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's another $500,000 related to DMATS funding that also is tied to that. So it just, it becomes an important consideration, and we want to make sure we can get it as best we can. What we do not want to do is build a trail to nowhere.
Yeah. And we could, send this presentation to Brian Preston to be shared with the Conservation Board, and at least you'd have somewhat of a concept from the presentation today to look at some different safety options crossing 3.
Right. We could have a joint work session as well, and invite the Conservation Board members to be present with us. I think that it's all possible, and we just want to give ourselves enough time when we do get the plans ready. And I'm not trying to jump onto the possible funding, but let's just build in another look at this with some public input again from citizens.
Get some options available. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I think just you guys jump in and tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think the trouble spot's going to be the DOT. in what they allow at that intersection.
Yep, I think so too. Harley Potoff, you got a lot of experience with public safety. What do you see?
Well, obviously, I have concerns over crossing 52. I'm not going to deny that. I was in law enforcement for 33 years and I know how they drive out there. I would like to have some discussions on other options. The one option that I had talked to Brian about was possibly crossing West John Deere Road down at 3 and trying to go south on 52 or east towards Dubuque to get to the pedestrian crossing bridge we already have. Or instead of having a trail along West John Deere Road, running along South John Deere Road and go back to the trail where the trail goes underneath John Deere Road already. I just have a lot of concern over 52. I mean, I see your at grade crossings and yeah, I'm sure they can be safe, but I just have some concerns over it, that's all. I just like to explore some other options to get around that, but I understand where time is limited also probably.
Well, one other option that I think, well, we kind of had this discussion with Brian, here at one of our previous meetings, but I know there was also kind of some talk about possibly going to the north and then, using, the bridge just to the north and kind of bringing the trail underneath, underneath the bridge and then back up, as another possibility. And so, yeah, and I totally agree with you, Supervisor Potoff. We've got some of the same concerns, so there's, it's obviously, I think the things, you've got a high speed situation. And then you've got, obviously in that particular location, we've got 4 lanes of traffic that we're crossing. The thing that actually helps us is there's just not a lot of traffic up there. So that certainly, does give us some options. But I think, we have, that's kind of why we want to do some work and coordinate here with the DOT, just so that, before we come back to the board, we've kind of vetted that out. So when we do come back, we've at least got the Iowa DOT, an agreement of whatever we think would be the right direction.
Yeah, Brian had mentioned under the bridge also, but we're subject to flooding and running a trail under the bridge would probably be a maintenance nightmare because the floods would tear it out frequently, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's a great point. You're exactly right.
Oh, we'll just see how things work out. That's just my biggest concern is crossing 52.
Right, and I think what we want, this is a public hearing and we just want, I think this is top of mind for all 3 of us about how we're going to make this happen. And so, and I'm not discounting, Aaron, all of your planning and so forth, but it's we're probably going to get more opinions than just kind of waiting to see how it works out, right? Because we're going to be pushing for a safe solution, and if we can't see something, we'll have to make another change. Not to your plan. I understand the federal component, but the county conservation and the county is going to have an obligation maybe to do something differently. So
Sure.
we'll probably be revisiting this a few times to get it right. So any other questions, comments in the public hearing? I have not found any member of the public who's made any indication they wish to raise a question or be heard. Do we have anything more as board members?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good, thank you, Ann.
Okay. And seeing nothing further from the public, I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I will second.
Motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, signify aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you very much, Aaron, and also Justin and Anthony. Good discussion, good presentation. I think we all appreciated the greater time to discuss these issues.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Anthony. Thanks, Austin.
It was my pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for your time.
Returning to our agenda, we are looking at section 5 sub B. It looks as though we have some motion. We have some public hearings to set for zoning amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning, the notice of public hearing amendments to the zoning ordinance for March 8th at 9 a.m.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the public hearings for zoning. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Next is also setting public hearing on the proposed vacation of the county road right-of-way.
I would make a motion to approve the notice of public hearing.
I will second that.
A motion and a second to approve the notice of public hearing for the proposed vacation of county road right-of-way. Also public hearing set for March 8th, 2021. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Continuing on our agenda, item number 6, approval of plats. We do not have any presented to us this evening. Next would be action items, and we do have an action item to approve the hiring of the Director of Disability Services. I guess I would note that this is modified as to what was originally in our packet, and that went out for publication to give the proper pay rate. Dawn, do you want to give us some context for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So on November 23rd, I had proposed an updated job description. This was previously the CPC coordinator, and we took a look at it and expanded. We wanted to have it updated duties and responsibilities. Plus, we also added some additional responsibilities that this position would work on that are Dubuque County centered. And so they would work with you as the board and any partners on specific programs and services for specifically Dubuque County. So when we did that, we did have a slight increase in the wage scale, recognizing that. And so this pay rate that you have for consideration is at step 3 of that 5-step scale for this position. And that is recognizing the experience of the candidate and allowing for some additional growth in the position. So that is the pay rate that Ann Cameron and I had agreed upon and was offered to her, accepted. Tentative your approval.
And we have seen this before as a board as part of the job description itself, correct?
Correct. That was the updated job description and salary range was approved on November 23rd.
Okay.
I'll make
Do we
motion
have
to
an-
approve the resolution
I
for the
will
hiring
second.
of the new position.
Sorry, I will second.
We have a motion, a second to approve the hiring of the new position. And I just want to pause. Do we have any other further discussion? Supervisor Potoff, you just want to be sure that you're comfortable or need any other questions for Dawn.
No, I'm fine with it.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Dawn. The next action item is a resolution regarding tax abatements for the city of Dubuque, apparently a tax abatement affecting the city and the county for the Order of Trappistine Sisters. Do we have any questions about this resolution?
I don't know what this is about, Ann. If you'd explain it a little better, please.
Okay. Do we have anyone here who can address this? I don't know if our auditor can. Dawn, do you want to give us context?
I can give a little background. We received this from the treasurer. So when either properties are sold or transferred to an entity that is tax exempt, he gets notification of that in his department. And so he's the one who actually drafted this resolution identifying those that are now tax exempt, and we need to abate those taxes for those two parcels.
Okay, I understand.
We do not always get context for these, Supervisor Potoff, in our evening meetings from the treasurer. But, you know, if you have other questions, we can address them. Otherwise, you know, if.
I understand it now. That's-
Okay, they're good. So.
Yeah,
if we're
I
gonna-
understand as well. It'd be always helpful to have a map or at least an adjoining letter for this. You've got an acronym of MOSDC, which I don't know what that means.
I can work with the treasurer to develop that.
I'll make
for
a
any
motion to
future-
table the resolution.
I'll second.
Motion a second to table the resolution. All in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Carried unanimously.
Just
to
hope I'm not
table.
removed from the Carmel list now.
Alright, they had an interesting zoning hearing that I was able to zoom into, so good stuff there. All right, moving on to communications. This actually, the item before that, we are not intended to take action on that. I mean, it was set by error on our agenda. So it is not a manure management plan. It's a nutrient plan that we do not need to take action on. Question is, how do we get it off the agenda? We can make a motion just simply to remove it. I think it's not wise just to skip it, so we should do something.
Not familiar with the process, so I'll refer to Jay.
I'm not, you know, that's always been puzzling how you take off things. Like I have a motion to never see this thing again. So I'm not sure either. It was in our packet and I can bring it up. It's got a lot of cross outs on it, or somebody can bring it up. But I mean, if we table it, it's just going to sit there. So maybe our deputy auditor could fill us in.
Yeah, it had a lot of red flags on it when you see it look like this, and it was just an error, and that's fine. But if
We could just
Mary
receive and
Hobble-
file it too. I don't think that's
yeah,
any
yeah,
problem.
yeah. Mary Hobble, our deputy auditor, what would you like us to do to accurately reflect whatever you're going to write in the minutes?
Well, what happened, I wasn't here that day, and Jenny just signed it, and then when I saw it, I just thought it was a manure management, so I put it on the agenda. Then it was brought to my attention and had a lot of crossed off things, and we don't do anything with the nutrients. So if you receive them filed, then we keep it. So I would say to make a motion to take it off the agenda.
I'm going to make
no
a
action.
motion. I'm going to
So-
make a motion to remove the Schwer's LLC nutrient management plan from the agenda.
I will second that.
Motion a second to remove this item from our agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you. Motion carries. Next item is appointments, which again is presented for information only. Does anyone want to comment on the open vacancies? Hearing nothing, we'll move on to item 10, which is a personnel requisition. There are none before us this evening. Item 11 is tabled and pending. We have no tabled or pending items. Before we go to public comments, I would ask my colleagues, we can set our next meeting date. And I would like to just notice what's going on the rest of this week with regard to the mask mandate issue that the Board of Health is picking up on Wednesday evening. Do we want to schedule a meeting later in this week, anticipating there will be some action we might want to look at?
That's fine with me.
Generally, I'm open to that as well. I'm less familiar off the top of my head with the timing of what we need to do to
Right.
deliberate on that.
Ed Raber, Ed, do you have a context for us in terms of when we need to meet again if we're going to take action on Board of Health matter?
Thank you, Supervisor McDonough. This is Ed Raber. The what I'd like you to consider is if the Board of Health takes action on something at their meeting on Wednesday evening, that would any action that they take is actually if they were to advance a proposal to you, it is a recommendation. So that will be the public hearing. The Board of Supervisors do not need to have a public hearing. That will be Wednesday night. The timeliness of any consideration and potential action by the Board of Supervisors, the reason that we're talking about the end of the week as opposed to Monday is so that if you were to take action on that, we would be able to submit it on Friday for publication in our county newspapers. And they would need that material prior to your regular meeting on Monday. And so asking you to, if that was your pleasure, to most expeditiously advance anything that would recommendation from the Board of Health would be to meet on Thursday or Friday.
And Thursday would be
Met on-
rough to get our publication out. So probably Friday, if we're inclined to do this, we would need to meet on Friday at a time that's convenient to us. Supervisor Wickham, do you have any time that works for you?
So Friday morning early does not, but the rest of Friday looks open. And I have possibilities on Thursday, but just depends what my other colleagues are open to. I know I have an
Excuse
RPA
me.
meeting at 9.
Supervisor McDonough,
Yes.
if the Board of Health approves this on Wednesday night, you won't know about it until Wednesday night or Thursday. You do have the 24-hour notice
Correct.
for the
That's why I
agenda.
was
So
thinking
you
we
couldn't
would have
have the
to,
meeting on Thursday.
we could not have the meeting on Thursday. Yes, correct.
Unless you said it now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Thursday isn't getting us really anywhere. I have the ECR governing board all afternoon. So Friday would be my preference. Looking at maybe like a 2 o'clock on Friday. Is that pushing everyone? What about staff availability? Let's meet at maybe 2 o'clock on Friday.
I'm available anytime 10:30 after Friday.
Supervisor Potoff, do you have a preference?
I'm free all Friday afternoon, the way it looks.
It looks
How
good.
about 1
So
o'clock?
I prefer to do 2 if that's okay. There's a meeting
That's
I'd like
fine.
to
Good.
attend. Right, 2 o'clock on Friday the 26th. So then what I'm looking for, we'll be going, let's do public comments and we'll come back to this then. So at the end of this meeting, we close with another opportunity for members of the public to address issues that are of concern to them that are not on this agenda tonight. If there's anyone who wishes to address us, please do so by waving your hand or going, raising your hand in the Zoom manner or a chat message. I don't see anything at this time. Therefore, I think we'll set our next meeting date. We've decided that it will be Friday, February 26th at 2 p.m. And so I'd be looking for a motion to recess until that time.
So moved.
I will second.
Motion and a second to recess until Friday, February 26th at 2 p.m. All in favor signify aye.
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 Aye. Very good. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thank you,
Have a
Ann.
good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night. Thank you.